I'm going to switch camera off right now because
not a problem.
I have to get things started here. Okay.
Okay. Ciao.
I'll get you to do the same thing.
Okay. Yep.
Just
there it is.
It's Friday, March 8th, Saturday, March 9th, if you're on the East Coast, across the pond, or down under. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night as we head into the weekend. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Deep Talk Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Go shopping while you listen at our Spaced Out Radio store. It's a great way to support what we do. And, of course, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Insuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Head to our website, click on the Insuho banner, and subscribe today. If someone tells you not to open something, do you open it anyways? What if it had some sort of repercussion attached to it? Would you still open it then? What if you knew it had a dark omen or spirit attached to it? Would you still consider opening it? Would human curiosity take over? Jason Haxton is a former owner of a Dibbuk Box. He is also the author of a book with the same title. The Dibbuk Box is a wine box which is said to be haunted by a restless, malicious spirit called a Dibbuk, believed to be able to haunt and even possess the living. The box gained notoriety when it was auctioned on eBay a couple of years ago with an accompanying horror story. We're going to get more into that in a moment. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will be bringing you the news from the SOR Newswire and Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Jason Haxton, thank you so much for taking time on your Friday night, early Saturday morning to be with us here tonight. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Dave. I think it's exciting. You've been working with me to have this on the show for a couple months, and I hope our listeners get the thrill and an education of the paranormal from a perspective of a person that's really kind of pulled into it. I really wasn't looking for this artifact or story, and you guys get to hear the whole thing from start to finish since you're giving me ample time.
Well, that's what we do have around here. We do have the luxury of time, but the problem that we're going to have with a show like this, Jason, is the time is going to fly really, really fast. So I want to get into this. You're an educated man. You've taught at universities and been a professor. And with that, did you grow up believing in the paranormal or the supernatural? How did you get involved with this side of the field?
Well, interesting. My family background is from the Czech Republic, and my grandmother was an immigrant. My great-grandmother, who I knew, never really spoke English. And they did have the ability to kind of sense and tap in to kind of prophecy, and it's been passed on through our family. And I've just always taken it for granted since I was probably about 6 years old that you go to sleep, you have a dream, and then within 2 weeks or so, it comes true. And I think it's fascinating now that my offspring have the same talent. And now that my son finally has a daughter who is now 5 years old, I'm anxious to see within the next year or so, does she start sharing with us that things come true that she sees in her sleep. And so that's about the closest to paranormal. But what I'm saying is, besides that, never really looked into it. It's just, one of those family traits to be, I think, a little sensitive, curious, certainly, but not out there really beating the bushes. Never been on a haunted tour or a ghost project or things like that, though I've heard about them and kind of watched them on TV. So my story, I think, is a little unique in the sense that I have a art history background, commercial art background, counseling background, and master's in education background. And these are not typically the things that move towards the paranormal. It kind of fell in my lap one day while I was at work running a medical museum.
Wow. That's pretty incredible indeed. So you have a family history of intuition. And, I got to tell you, you have a 5-year-old granddaughter. I have a 5-year-old son. And I know my son is already starting to pick things up. I watch him. My wife watches him. And just watching some of his reactions or the stories that kind of come through it, it's kind of amazing. So I'm very curious in the future, Jason, to see what you pick up on what your granddaughter may be noticing.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating because to some degree, I always thought it was just me. It was only when I later shared after my grandmother's death that my mother started sharing her experiences, my grandmother's experiences, and my great-grandmother's from the old country, from Czechoslovakia. And so it is kind of fascinating. If you dig around in your family, it's not always obvious that everybody has these things. And yet, when I shared it one day with my kids, just saying, hey, by the way, if something happens that it seems to come true, don't freak out over it. And they'd already been having these experiences for years. I was a little late. And so I thought that was quite interesting that we had gotten involved early enough to actually discuss these things. And it's something that still happens with them today. Doesn't change the world, but weirdly enough, it sometimes freaks out the people they're with. For us, it's just something we do. For people that don't do it, I guess they don't like knowing that you could. It's almost as if there's no free choice. This is coming no matter what, and we're seeing it. Where for our perspective, it's just the way it is.
Our guest tonight, Jason Haxton. We are talking about the Dibbuk Box. And Jason, let's get into this a little bit, because you're someone who kind of fell into the paranormal out of more curiosity and intrigue. And as we move towards the Dibbuk Box, what did you know about the paranormal before you got into it? I know we had your family intuition, but there was never any ghostly experiences, or did you go online? Did you watch those television shows that are out there?
Yeah, really not. I guess I always saw those as kind of really cheesy. As a matter of fact, probably of all of them that seemed the least scary to me was always Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans and Aaron.
Yes.
And yet Zach ended up, and I'll explain why, with the Dibbuk Box, because it was more of an opportunity for our viewers and our, listening audience tonight, it really was an opportunity for the people, the thousands, the tens of thousands that have been writing me steadily trying to have access to this artifact. And as a museum professional, I feel bad because we are a public trust and we are supposed to give access as much as possible to the world to things that interest people. In our case, it's medical museum, whether it's anatomy or instruments or manuscripts. Our job is to protect so that you can enjoy and give you access. But this was an artifact that had become a personal piece, and therefore it was difficult to give it access. And so working through with Zach actually was the solution. And we'll again get to that, but it's a solution that anyone right now could go and see the Dibbuk Box if it's something they wanted to do. And they couldn't do that when it was in my possession because it was in my home and I'm in the middle of nowhere. And certainly I'm not open to strangers hanging out at my house. Again, it's something I fell into. This is not my job, but I feel an obligation to share with people because it was a very unique experience. And I think people can gain from it.
How did you acquire the Dibbuk Box?
Well, that was interesting because, again, my background was commercial art and art history and education. Always having a love of history, I fell into a position of working at a medical museum where we deal with, human remains and instruments that kind of like we might call instruments of torture, but they were actually medical instruments of the time, just a little barbaric by what we do today. And so working with history and things like that, we often let young college people come in and do an internship so they can, get their feet wet and get an opportunity to find out, is this something they want to do with their lives, and also start building up a resume. And so one of these young students from the neighboring university, Truman State University, Brian, requested to work with us. And so it's like, oh, yeah, we'll let you do an internship. And he'd done a really good, 6-month internship. And we had a part-time position open. I thought, you know what? We're going to hire this young student, give him some job experience. And it wasn't long that after we hired Brian, we'd have our staff meetings. And prior to staff meetings, we'd share a little bit about family. And most of us, oddly enough, had a historic home. And most of us had kids. And most of us had a pet. But Brian was the odd man out because being a college student, he didn't have any of those things. And so he kind of sit and have nothing to share. And this went on for a couple of weeks. And one day, as we neared the end of our kind of staff meeting and had already talked about the family stuff and was dealing with exhibits and what we needed help with, suddenly Brian pipes up and says, I've got something to share. And of course, we all looked at him because, what does this young student have to share that, would interest us? And he goes, my roommate bought a haunted Jewish wine box, which, of course, kind of really stopped all conversation in our staff meeting of all these museum professionals. We're all just suddenly looking at Brian like, what did you just say? And then he felt really self-conscious about it. He's like, no. He bought this haunted box, and I can prove it. I was like, okay. And he goes, well, if you come to the internet, I will show you where this thing is that he bought. And of course, he brings it up on the computer, and here's this rather attractive little wooden box with, grape applique and kind of interesting hinges and kind of like a really attractive little knickknack. And then we start reading the story attached to this, which gets very dark and basically very oppressive. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, what a horrible item. And of course, the rest of the staff kind of filtered away and was buzzing about it. And it just left me with Brian. I said, Brian, I'm really curious if this thing is real. I mean, maybe someone cobbled it together from garage fodder, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, threw it together and made this fantastic story. You really can't tell by looking at a picture. If I had the artifact, you can't fake real age. There's certain things that are really difficult to fake. And I'd like to just see this thing. Whenever you're done doing whatever you and your roommate are going to do with this thing, let me have a chance to look at it. And Brian was like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem at all. And so that was my introduction and my staff's to the Dibbuk Box.
Very intriguing. When you got a hold of that, did you believe that it was haunted? Did you believe the legends and lore? And if not, what convinced you otherwise?
Well, and that was the thing. I didn't get a hold of it right away. As a matter of fact, it had been a couple months. And though we started kind of joking about this Dibbuk box, it hadn't really arrived. And so I guess I was playing a little too hard with Brian as a student, but it would be like every time someone would trip or drop something or something bad would happen, it's like, oh my gosh, it's the Dibbuk box. And we really made quite a big joke about it. And Brian was a little bit embarrassed, except for the fact that the day that it did arrive, that was the day that a small windstorm, I guess I should say small, big enough to actually take down 100-year-old trees, but it only happened at my house. It was a very central storm in a little town on one house. And it literally threw a tree into our historic home, this big brick home, and almost destroyed it. Had my neighbor's quick action had not got a backhoe and basically a front-end loader and lifted this thing off, it would have completely gone through the house. It was just hinged on it, waiting to go through, and they pushed it off. Well, of course, the rumor was, don't mock the box, because what Brian shared with us, because we didn't know the thing had arrived, he said that the way it worked out was his roommate, when he saw this thing to buy, wanted to involve him with it. And he thought, well, yeah, maybe. But then he realized he didn't have the finances to, be messing around with this. So his roommate pretty much bought it on his own. Now, he was just basically letting this guy live at the apartment for sharing utilities and thought it was kind of a nice thing that what Brian was doing for this guy who bought this Dibbuk box and didn't really worry about it. But he said it had been really quite some time that the box hadn't arrived, and they thought basically he got scammed. There was no such thing as the Dibbuk box. And he went back to his apartment one day, and he smelled this horrible piss smell, like someone wasn't using the toilet, just using the floor. And he got kind of angry, thinking, I let this guy come in for no rent, and he basically doesn't even clean up after himself. He goes in the bathroom, and he realizes the smell's not there. He comes out, and the smell is in the living room. And for the first time, he spies that, indeed, the Dibbuk box had arrived. His roommate must have gotten it out of the packaging, set it up on the table, and there's paper waddings all over from, basically the stuffing for the shipping. And he suddenly realized that one of the signature traits of the Dibbuk box was the smell of piss. And he goes, and then it just suddenly dissipated, and the smell was no longer there. And
interesting.
Kind of freaked him out just a little bit about that item, which was the same day that a storm, and I was probably the one who joked about the box the most, but the day it arrived, I ended up having what was a pretty unusual catastrophe. Now, someone took some pictures of the tree right immediately after it had fallen, and in it, I'm not really paranormal, but there were these orbs, not just 2 or 3, there were hundreds, all scattered around the tree of all sizes, which you could see through them. And those that know orbs say that this was certainly something very spiritual, not just your typical, there's a tree and some raindrops. It actually never rained. It was a windstorm without rain. So we were all kind of freaking out about it, which, again, only encouraged me more that maybe I want to see this thing. And yet months had gone by, and I hadn't brought it up. I didn't want to be kind of really pushy about it. But one day, somewhere around, the end of November, so this has been about 3 months, I said, hey, Brian, about that Dibbuk box thing, I'd kind of like to see it. Can I come by your apartment and take a look? And he goes, he goes, well, really, it's gone. I said, it's gone. He goes, well, the roommate who had bought it is gone. And it's gone too. He goes, he really started freaking out as we had this box. All kinds of electrical things would go wacko. Lights would explode all around. Each of us would take turns sleeping with it, and either it opened on its own. We'd have these horrible dreams, massive bug infestation, injuries, people bleeding from their eyes, choking and sicknesses, things we've never had as a group. Suddenly it's constant. So we have to be kind of honest. When he left and the box left and everything stopped, we're kind of happy. But he was feeling this shadowy figure was kind of something was pursuing him. And so he really wasn't living anywhere. He just would go from person's house to apartment. And he goes, that's why I don't know where he's at. But over Thanksgiving, he packed up, took the box, and is gone. And I really felt at that point, it's like kind of a loss. I mean, it was really almost strange that it's like I couldn't really even describe the thought that here is this mystery now gone. And I really felt a loss about it, which is really weird. And I thought, well, there that is. I guess that chapter's over. Well, winter break came. All the college students went away. And in January, when they came back about middle of the month, Brian says, oh, by the way, I ran into Joseph, the guy with the Dibbuk box. And I said, yeah. He goes, oh, his hair's falling out. He goes, it's like, and he looks horrible. He's almost flunking out of school. He still feels this thing's after him, but he believes that if he sells the Dibbuk box to someone who knows what it is, he can rid himself of the curse, because that's what he did. He had bought it from someone, but the person made him swear that he understood the background and that he willingly paid for it, and now the curse was his. But he didn't believe in the curse. Well, now he does, and he wants to get rid of it. And so Brian says, if you want to buy it, it's yours. And I was like, no. I just want to look at it. I don't even want to look at it in the museum. I'd come over to your apartment, maybe 15 minutes is all I need, and I'll be done. He goes, well, that's not going to happen. He goes, because he's convinced that he has to sell it. And if you want to see it, you'll have to buy it. I said, well, no, Brian, we work together. You're not going to lie to me. What's up with this thing? He goes, I was the only one who didn't sleep with the box during that time it was here. And since he's come back, he's given it to me briefly, and I can't sleep at all when it's in the room. And he goes, all these things that happened, Jason, were true. There's something wrong with this artifact, and I advise you not to get involved with it. And I said, well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you being honest that it is something, because you're not going to lie to me. We're working together, and I'm okay with it being a fraud. I mean, I don't care. I just want to know what's going on here because of our curiosity of history. He goes, it's not a fraud, but he goes, don't get involved with it. And I said, okay, that's good enough for me. I said, thanks. Done with it. So at that point, now that I had the opportunity for it, I kind of decided not to. Okay, well, why not? Because I had 2 children, a wife, a good job, life going pretty good for me. And if there was any element of what he described was happening to those around it and his roommate, that was something I didn't want in my life, except that I had a friend and he had a problem. And I thought access to the Dibbuk box could be the solution to his problem. When we come back, we can talk about it.
Absolutely we can. Absolutely we can. And one of the things that I find very intriguing about this is this box has really taken on a legend of its own.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you Google, most haunted object in the world or the 10 most haunted things or whatever, it is it. It is the thing. Even famous people like Post Malone, who probably is something, if you're youngish, you know this person's music, and even he had an entanglement with it, which basically sent it even more viral. There's been a movie, a #1 movie, and not just a movie, a Hollywood hit worldwide that brought in $100 million plus all the money from all the films and things. It's crazy that it's as if this story does not want to go unnoticed.
Almost like it's craving the attention.
It's craving to share something, a secret, a dark secret. And that is actually what ultimately I discovered about it. But I think we have to give you the background to lead you to it naturally appearing this secret that now, because of the Dibbuk Box, it's as if it wants something known. And that's why all the issues, all the illnesses, it's pushing each person that has it to discover. And if you're not going to discover or work at it, then it's going to make your life so unbearable, you get rid of it, and now the next person has the opportunity to resolve the story, the mystery.
It's almost like it is one giant puzzle. Jason, I'm going to get you to hold on as we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Jason Haxton is our guest tonight. We are talking the Dibbuk Box all night long. Do you buy the story? Do you believe in it? Would you open the box? More of the Dibbuk Box coming up right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night. Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. This weekend, while I am off in the snow finding my Zen and my Chi, Tessa Nicole Thomas is back with Spaced Out Weekend, 9 o'clock Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight, we are talking about the Dibbuk Box. If you're not sure what it is, it's an ancient box, a wine box, that is said to be extremely haunted. One of the former owners of this is Jason Haxton. And Jason is with us tonight to describe this haunting tale. Jason, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Dave.
How did you end up purchasing this?
Well, I kind of shared in the first half how I didn't want a haunted box. I mean, I've got a family, I got a job. I'm not that much into the paranormal. I'm curious about history, so wanted to see it, but not enough that I would buy the curse, as the current owner was suggesting would happen if I were to buy it. But I knew a young guy who was an illusionist. He did magic tricks, and he was going to do a tour of our city where there had been interesting deaths. I mean, every city has weird deaths, and he was going to walk them to each site where maybe someone had died of a diabetic coma, or someone's head had been plunged into a fence when they were driving a motorcycle and had an accident. And so these different horrible deaths. And he wanted to bring them to his house and create an illusion, a true magic trick. But he said, why would anybody be at my house? And I said, I've heard the story of something called the Dibbuk Box. And if you had the Dibbuk Box, you would have a spirit. So it's a natural way that they would be at your apartment when you end your tour and you create your illusion. He goes, well, is this thing available? I said, well, it is available, but that's not the point. I've seen a picture of it, and we would make a knockoff. We would just claim that we had a Dibbuk Box. We wouldn't get the real thing. But he said, but it is available. I said, well, yeah, it is available. But I said, Michael, what if it actually has a spirit attached to it? He goes, well, that would all be the better. I said, no. I don't think it would be for the better, because it could cause a lot of trouble, as it seems to be doing for this guy who currently has it and the guy before him. He goes, well, why don't we get it? And if there's any problems, I'll take it. And it's like, oh, yeah, I'm not afraid of this stuff, and it's not a big deal. And so with this confidence from Michael that he would take full responsibility for it, I decided to actually buy the Dibbuk Box because I had nothing to lose.
Was that when it was on eBay?
No, this is how the college student had bought it.
Okay.
It was in Portland. And so here's the thing about the Dibbuk Box. So going back to the story that I told Michael was, so here's this box that this 103-year-old Jewish woman had owned up to her death. And she talked and prayed and basically did rituals. It was her way of calming herself from World War II, the Holocaust. She had lost her husband, her children, her family members, her neighbors. She had somehow been able to break away, get to Spain, and get out of there. But what had happened was they had sensed this rising of Nazi and power, and they started to do Ouijaing, and they had contacted a spirit, and that was the spirit of the Dibbuk. And pardon me. And so basically, as they were doing this, everything broke loose. Everything went horrible. And she and the few with her felt they had caused something greater, that something, not that there wasn't bad in the air, but it is as if throwing gasoline onto it. Things that had never gone wrong. For instance, programs. Jews were used to programs. They've been around forever. They always got harassed, and then it ended, and then life went back to normal, and then they got harassed again. But on Kristallnacht in 1938, when they were trying to trap this Dibbuk because they thought it was very bad, that was the night that the first programs that actually involved concentration camps, I forget, like 800 synagogues were destroyed, and thousands of businesses of the Jews. Nothing like this had ever happened in history. And they felt it had something to do with them messing around with the spiritual world. And so when she escaped, this woman felt somewhat responsible. So she created this little box, and she put little familial tokens, hair, coins, strange octopus candlesticks, Hebrew writing, which is one of the oldest writings and a very spiritual writing, and rare stones, and across the back. I mean, this thing was just really reeking of spirituality, and she would keep it locked, and no one in her family was to see it, but she would, in some ways, talk to God. And what she was talking to God about was, why did this happen? She wanted understanding. And for 40 years, she would talk and pray to this little box she created to understand what was the cause of the Holocaust. Now, most of us would say, well, we could have told her that. Just go to Wiki. It's Hitler. That's the answer. Hitler's the problem. And yet she was like, no, there was something that was a tiny seed that blossomed into this, that there is more to the story. And I think some of you might have heard that there's this tale that a butterfly flapping its wings at the right instant could create a whole tornado or hurricane, a complete windstorm. One like what happened to my house could have been caused by one insect if things were just right. And she was saying, I think there's something like that. Some small thing blew into this, and I want to know what that thing was. I just want to understand it. And so she prays and prays, and she doesn't get her answer. And at 103, she gets pneumonia and dies, but she's perfectly healthy up until she gets the pneumonia and dies. Now, she's let her family know that when I'm dead, I'm done with my little praying in my box. Bury it with me. And so, of course, the family member thinks nothing of it. They go to the rabbi and they say, you know, Grandma's died. She's had a good life. And by the way, there's a little something different about this death. We would like to have buried with her little prayer box, her wishing box. And the rabbi's like, what? It's like, we want to bury this little box with these things in it that she had made specially for her to feel better. And the rabbi says, no, we don't bury things with people. It's like, let me see this box. And they kind of, it's like, no, it looks like somebody could use that. We're not going to bury it. It's got some use. We do not believe that there is any use of that thing in our afterlife. It does not align to what we believe in, and we're not going to bury it with it. Give it to somebody. It's like, but she really wants it. I don't care what she wants. We're not burying the box. That's what the Egyptians did. We were slaves to the Egyptians, and we are not going to imitate the very people that enslaved us. I refuse to bury that box with her. If you want her buried, there will be no box. And that was it. The rabbi had spoken, and they realized it was done. So it looked like that box wasn't going to be buried with Grandma. And so then they didn't know what to do with her creepy box or the rest of her stuff. So they decided to have a garage sale after her death. And they put everything out there, including this box, which had a lock. No one had actually opened it because she forbade them. Do not touch my Dibbuk box. Now, whether she really believed there was a Dibbuk in it or she was just telling them that, kind of like you say, you know, don't get up. Don't get out of bed. The boogeyman will get you. You know, that's a story for children to keep them from being up all night. But they didn't know whether she believed it or didn't. But the bottom line was they weren't about to mess around with that creepy little box. They put it up for sale. And an innocent guy who's buying knickknacks for his antique shop, Kevin Manis, sees this attractive wooden box with this odd little lock on it and this beautiful grape applique of mahogany wood. And he buys it. As Kevin is leaving with his purchase, one of the family members, a young woman, comes up and says, oh, I see you bought Grandma's Dibbuk box. And he's like, well, what's a Dibbuk? A Dibbuk box? She goes, well, I don't know. That's what she called it. He's like, oh, I didn't realize this was something that was I thought it was for sale. Here, you can take it back. And the woman's like, oh, no. You bought it. It's yours. And you go, oh, no. I don't want money back. Consider it just,
of course
no. It's, she just said my dead grandmother. I mean, you kind of get to, oh, I get it. Just here. I don't want the money. I paid for it. And because he's walking away with he brings it back and it's like offers it to her. It's like, here, take it. And she's like, no. You made the deal. It's yours. We don't want it. Get out. Why do you do this to us? And she's just freaking out. And he's like, okay, but someone's dead. You're getting rid of their possessions. In his mind, he's kind of thinking, it's just a stressful time. Best thing I can do is just take the box and go. And that's what he did. He's thinking this might make a nice little birthday gift for his ma. And so he goes back to his little antique shop. He's got some young people helping him with it. He goes down to his basement. He puts it in there. He pulls the lock off to see what's in it because he can hear stuff inside of it. And when he gets the little lock on the rasp, he pulls the drawer and the doors open kind of magically. It's really kind of interesting. If you want to see how it works, just go to the website, dibbukbox.com, just www.dibbukbox.com, and it'll show a picture. You can click on a little gift and it'll show you it actually opening. And it's really kind of an intriguing thing. But he's got all this weird hair and coins and this granite with writing weird and roses and this candles. So he pulls all the stuff out, puts it in a box, and thinks, I'll give that back to the family. I'll go back and give that to them. And I'm just going to put a little lemon oil on it and give this to my mom. And so he's leaving to go do some errands, and out of the shop he goes, tells his shopkeeper he'll be gone for an hour or so, and off he goes to do some errands. And suddenly, as he's in his car driving down the road, he gets a phone call, and it's the shopkeeper his help. And she's saying, I'm locked in the shop. Someone has locked the gate. So it was like a security gate on the outside that somehow it had gotten locked. And she goes, I'm locked in here. But she goes, the worst thing is there's somebody in your base. There's somebody in the shop, and things are breaking. And I hear these loud, angry sounds, whether they're cursing or something. Something is going on in your basement, and I can't get out. And of course, Kevin's like, oh my God, the man is, he's the shopkeeper. He said, call the police. But before he can tell her to call the police, his phone goes dead. His cell phone's dead. He can't reach her. And he knows that something's wrong into the shop. So, of course, he's going 100 miles back to the shop. And when he gets there, sure enough, the gate's locked. So he unlocks it. He opens the gate. He goes in the shop. And there in his office, cowering in the corner of the office, is his help. And she's just, terrified. And he heads towards the basement. That's where she said the problem was. He goes to flip on the lights, and the lights don't come on. And he's hit with this horrible smell of piss. Cat piss.
Again.
And he doesn't have a cat. Never had a cat. But you know what that smell is. And so he comes out to get a flashlight. She gets up out of the office. She tears out of the shop, just white and panicked. And he gets a flashlight and he goes back down the basement. And now he's smelling all this little jasmine flowery scent. He goes, what is all this? It's like these weird smells in my shop. He puts the flashlight on and he sees what the problem is. All the incandescent lights are broken in their sockets, and all the fluorescent lights have been crashed to the floor. There's not a single bulb that's not destroyed in his entire workshop. And he's looking at this thinking, what just happened here? Okay. And he thinks, well, and what would you think? Not that there's a spirit in your basement, but your shop manager got locked in, got pissed off, and destroyed the shop.
Exactly.
Because she was the only one. There's only one way in the basement, one way in, one way out. Nobody passed him. Nobody left that shop. It was completely locked. So nobody was in there. So she had to have done it. Why? He doesn't know. But she refuses to come back. She refuses to talk about it. And he cleans up the mess and goes on with his life. A couple days later, it's Mom's birthday. She often comes to the shop, helps out a little bit, and he's got another worker that does things too. He just doesn't have one worker. He's got 2 or 3 workers, and it's Mom's birthday. So he brings out this wooden cabinet, and he sets it in front of her and says, Ma, this is your birthday gift, and I'm going to take you out to lunch, but I'm going to make a couple calls in my office, and then I'll be right back out. Enjoy this. And he goes back in his office for a second, and all of a sudden his other worker goes, and you got to get back out there. Something's wrong with your ma. It's like, what? I just left her. What do you mean something? There's something really wrong with your mom. And he goes out there, and she's catatonic, tears streaming down her eyes. She's sitting in front of the box, just tears, and she's not moving. She's like a statue. He doesn't know what's wrong with her, calls the ambulance. They come, they get her. He chases off after her, tells the shop guy just to, keep a lid on everything. He gets to the hospital, and the doctor says, well, your mother appears to have had a massive stroke. She seems to be paralyzed on one side of her body. She may have a loss of short-term memory. We think her long-term memory should be okay. She's going to have some difficulty communicating. You might need an alphabet and let her point to letters, and that's one way we work with stroke victims is they can point to letters and you can communicate. So he makes a little alphabet, and he goes in to see his ma, and she's not looking really good. And he goes, well, Ma, hi. And she seems really agitated. So he gets his little sheep. He goes, Ma, point out the letters and tell me what's wrong. What's going on? What do you need? And she points out N-O-G-I-F-T, no gift. Of course, Kevin's thinking, oh, yeah, the doctor said her short-term memory, that was the last thing she had was her birthday. She goes, Mom, no. I gave you a birthday gift. I gave you that nice little wooden box. And now she's really agitated, and she's just, moving as best she can. And so he gets back out the piece of paper, and she starts pointing again. H-A-T-E-G-I-F-T, hate gift. Now, Kevin is blown away because she suffered a stroke. She's half paralyzed, and she's worried about her birthday gift. That's completely nuts. And she's trying to warn him, and he's thinking she should be worried about her health, not that she doesn't like my birthday gift. It's like, Ma, I'll get you something else. You need to get better. Don't worry about your birthday gift. I'm sorry you don't like it, but just get better, for crying out loud. And he leaves thinking, gosh, that's weird. So he goes back to the shop. Goes back to the shop, and he basically puts a for sale sign on it and decides he's just going to sell it. Mom doesn't want it. He'll get her something else. And an elderly couple come in, and they see the attractive box that's now available for sale, and they buy it. He's thinking, okay, that's good money. And he thinks nothing of it. He comes back to work the next day, and the box sitting right outside the door. He goes, now this is weird, because where I am on Burn Street in Portland, Oregon, where my shop is, there's a lot of homeless and transient kind of people. Nothing lasts outside your door. And here this box is sitting with a note, and he reads the note. This has a darkness about it, is what the note says. And it's left at his doorstep. And he's thinking, what the heck? He brings it back into the shop. I mean, he's already made his money off of it. And about that time, the worker that had warned him about his mom had a brother that was kind of a no-good, a little bit of a drug user, kind of a criminal, a small petty criminal. He comes into the shop looking for his brother who works there. And Kevin realized he knows who this guy is. He's kind of a bit of a jerk. And he goes, where's my brother Pee-wee? He goes, we ain't got no Pee-wee here, because Pee-wee is actually a pretty big guy. Now, his brother's a scrawny guy, but the guy that works for him is a decent-sized guy. And Kevin's just playing with him, just saying, we got no Pee-wees here. And all of a sudden, this brother, looking for his brother who works there, grabs a straight, because he's selling these antique razor blades, for shaving, these straight-edge razors. He grabs one of these off the counter and starts lunging at Kevin. Now, Kevin himself isn't a small guy, and he's like, what the heck? And so he's dodging this guy who's coming at him with this straight-edge razor, and while he's swinging the razor, he hits the Dibbuk box, and it falls to the ground. And, of course, just about that time, oddly enough, a police cruiser is going by. It stops. Guy comes into the shop, and it's like he arrests this razor-wielding nutcase and hauls him out. And, of course, the worker comes up and goes, I am so sorry about my brother. He's got a lot of issues. And Kevin's like, look, it's nothing on you. And picks up the Dibbuk box, sticks it back on the shelf. Nothing's damaged. Nothing's a problem. But they don't hold the brother very long. He gets out of the police. I guess they don't book him. They just decide to let him go. And he comes back to the shop that night. But the weird thing is, in the morning, he's found dead out front of the shop. He's got a hoodie on, and the hoodie's been pulled over his head with a belt around his neck. He's been strangled. And when the police show up, they look at it and say, yep, suicide. Wow. And that's the end of him. Well, of course, again, it's one of those weird things.
Let me get you to hold that thought, because we are literally 10 seconds away from going to our break here at the top of the hour, and you just have a plethora of questions coming up in the next hour. So you better be prepared for that, because this is very intriguing. This is very intriguing. Totally. Jason, please.
Don't mess with the box. Trust me, you'll have a mysterious death.
Yeah, exactly. Jason Haxton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Hour 1 in the books, Hour 2 coming up. We're going to find out more about the Dibbuk Box. What makes it so haunted? Why is it haunted? And so much more. We'll be back with more on the mighty SOR right after this. Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Story Box. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social media freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social media freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. This weekend, while I am off in the snow, finding my zen and my chi, Tennessee Nicole Thomas is back for the weekend shows, starting at 9 o'clock Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDUN, AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Good to have you with us. Remember, all of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor and hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tractor. Tractor is your password. Make sure you use it wisely. Space Travelers as a clam sets the password each and every night, right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Go shopping while you're listening in at our Spaced Out Radio store, because it's a great way to support what we do around here. And, of course, you can always read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and so much more. Tonight we are talking with Jason Haxton. He's a former owner of the Dibbuk Box, a very haunted, telling story about this ancient box. It's about 100 years old. I guess we could call it ancient. and just some very high strangeness surrounding it. Jason, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Dave, and it's fun to be here and kind of catching people up. So we've got this creepy box. We've got a mysterious death. We've got a woman who's had a stroke and a health issue. We've got a person with shadowy figures and his hair falling out and lights exploding all around. These are very common things to anybody who actually comes into the ownership of this box. And so we left with this guy getting in a fight, knocking the box over, and mysteriously dying. Now, the interesting thing is, the policeman that had arrested that guy comes into the shop and says, you know, when I came in the other day to help you out, I didn't know the shop was here, and I kind of wanted to look around. And, of course, Kevin is, well, thanks for helping out, and have a look around. And Kevin, being a shop owner, is used to when people spy something, he kind of almost instantly knows when he's made a sale. And this policeman suddenly spies this Dibbuk box, this wooden box with the grape appliques, and he starts moving towards it. And Kevin's thinking, here it goes. He's going to take it. And the policeman gets right up to the box, almost puts his hands on it, and suddenly withdraws, and starts walking slowly backwards with a panic look on his face and out of the shop. And Kevin's like, I have never seen anything like that. You know, and so he thinks, you know what? To heck with it. He takes the Dibbuk box out of the shop, and he basically gives it to his brother. His brother has it for a while and returns it. Says, my wife thinks it smells like cat piss, but I think it smells like the sickliest, sweetest perfume. And either way, we can't stand the smell. The thing stinks. So you got to get it. We want it out of our house. So they give it back to Kevin. He's like, okay, you don't like it. He offers it up to his girlfriend, Carmen. And Carmen has it for a little while. And she says it's broken. He goes, what do you mean it's broken? It keeps opening. He goes, no, you have to pull the drawer. It won't open unless the drawer. But she goes, well, I go to bed at night, and in the morning it's open. The thing's broken. I don't want it. She gives it back to him. So Kevin thinks, no big deal. He's got the Dibbuk box in his house. But what he notices is he starts having these really strange dreams. It's a dream where he feels that he's with a friend, and they're out for a walk, nothing really big, just a walk with a friend. And as they're talking, he looks into their eyes, and suddenly he says, I realize it's not them. As I look in the eyes, this person morphs into the most gruesome hag and just starts jumping and wailing and beating the tar out of me. And he goes, I'd wake from these dreams and I'd be black and blue bruised. And I'd go back to bed and it'd start all over again. And it would just go on and on all night. And he said, I was convinced I was going mentally insane because this would just keep happening. And I'd have all these unexplained bruises in the morning all over my body. And so, you know, he's kind of at the point of wondering if he needs psychiatric help. And he has his brother over and his sister-in-law, and they have a dinner, and they're drinking wine, and they're having a good night. And it's a little late, and they shouldn't be driving. He goes, just stay in the guest room, and, you know, we'll have breakfast. You can leave in the morning. It's, you know, no big deal. And so his brother and sister-in-law stay over. And when they get up for breakfast in the morning, his brother's like, dang, I didn't sleep. You know, thanks for having us over, but I didn't sleep last night. And Kevin's like, well, what's the problem? He goes, I had this horrible dream. He goes, well, what's your dream? He goes, well, I dreamed that I was with somebody I knew, and suddenly it's this horrible woman beating the crap out of me. And his wife looks over. She goes, you had a dream like that? He was like, well, yeah, I've had this dream more than once. And she goes, well, I had the same dream last night. And now it's like, well, that's pretty weird. And Kevin's like, whoa. I've been having this dream nonstop. And they're kind of thinking, well, we all three can't be having the same dream. And they're starting looking, well, what's the common denominator? What's the common denominator? And his brother said, I first had that dream when you gave us that box. And Kevin's been thinking, well, I've been having the dream since I've had the box. They think, let's call Carmen up. Carmen had the box. Let's just see if there's anything going on with it. So they call Carmen up and say, Carmen, we're just curious. Have you been having any like restless sleep or any bad dreams or anything like that? And Carmen's like, well, not really. It's like, well, anything where you were harmed. She goes, well, she goes, for a few nights, I did have a dream that you're going to think it's funny, I was being beat up. When? She goes, I don't know. It was a while back. He goes, well, was it when you had that nice box I gave you? And she pauses and thinks. She goes, you know what? I did have that dream when I had that box because it wasn't shutting. And now they've all come together. It's like, why? And Kevin's like, it's a long story. I'll get back. But suddenly Kevin starts putting together mom's stroke, the guy who knocks it down, the police, the darkness about this thing. People don't want, there's something wrong with this thing, this artifact, this Dibbuk Box. And now he's kind of freaking out. So he gets online. He's trying to find out anything about, possessions or things or what, even the word Dibbuk, what is this? And as he's staying up, trying to figure this out, he passes, just kind of goes to sleep, passes out, just goes to sleep. He goes, I'm dead asleep. I'm so tired. And I feel this hot, warm air, like someone's breathing on my neck. And I spring up and I spin around just in time to see something shadowy lumbering down the hallway. And now I'm really freaked out. I take the box, I take it out to my workshop, I shove it in there. I don't want it in the house. And I go back in, and it's not even 15 minutes, and the smoke alarm goes off in the shed. I go back out into the shed, and there's no smoke. And he's like, he just alarms the smoke. He goes, I'm getting rid of it. That's when Kevin puts the Dibbuk Box on sale on eBay, because eBay never really sold these kinds of things. This is actually the first kind of artifact like this. Up now you can go on and find all kinds of paranormal, spiritual, jinn, whatever. But back in 2003, you could go back. They didn't sell stuff like this. Nobody had ever. And Kevin's thinking, I want this thing as far away from me in Portland, Oregon as I can get it. And to me, and I need a big audience, because if I sell it here, it's going to stay here. And I'm not even, I destroy it. But if I destroy it, whatever it is might be stuck with me forever. I just want to get rid of it. And so he puts it online. He goes, look, I'm going to tell you the whole story. So everything we've discussed, mom's stroke, all these weird things with brothers, sisters, blah, blah, blah. He puts it all in the listing and say this, and nobody's ever done this before. He goes, and I'm selling this for $1. Starting bid $1. I just want to get rid of this thing. And that's when the college kid stumbles across it. And Kevin communicated, he goes, look, I want you to know what this thing is. It's horrible. And if you buy it, you may very well buy this thing. I just want you to be very clear. There's something attached to this thing, and I'm not going to be, doing this to somebody. And the college kid, Joseph says, oh no, I just think it's unattractive. I'm not worried about that stuff. I'm buying it, understanding it, and I don't believe that stuff. So sell it to me. So we get back to remember that the box took many months to get to the purchaser. So Joseph buys it, and it doesn't arrive. As a matter of fact, they thought they got scam stuff, and it arrives 2 months later. Now, here's the weird thing. The post date on it, when it was shipped in United States Postal, was the next day. After Joseph bought it, it was taken. Kevin didn't want it. He took it to the post office, and for some weird reason, this thing just floats around for months and finally arrives at it. That's strange. It finally arrives at its destination, and that's when
I'm gonna cut you off right there. Was there a record that it had been delivered the next day?
The record was the postage stamp had been mailed. Once it's in the mail, it gets there when it gets there, but it shouldn't have taken 2 months.
Right. Okay.
And so that's the weird thing is, unless you're mailing something to Canada, then it's perfectly understandable. I've mailed things. I've mailed things from the United States, and some things arrive the next day, and some things arrive a month later. It's like, what is that?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
But this was in the United States, and it should have arrived at maximum a week later. It's 2 months floating around with no explanation. It just arrives. And they look at the post because they thought, well, maybe he waited and didn't mail it for 2 months. And they look at the postage, when it's received, it's stamped. And it's like, no, it was the next day. It was delivered to the post office and gone. Kevin didn't want it. That's what would have made no sense. Why would he have kept it if this was such a horrible thing? So the bottom line is it comes, it does its damage with the student. And now my friend is saying, we've got to buy the box. And I'll take it. So I buy the box. And the intern, Brian, who first told me about the box, he's going to deliver it to me. I never ever meet Joseph. He wants nothing to do with anyone or this thing. He wants it out of his life. I give the check to my intern. He takes it to Joseph. Joseph gives him the box. He returns to the museum with this thing in a cardboard box, the same box it was shipped in by Kevin. He brings it, and he's not very happy that he's brought it back to his workplace. And I take the box from the intern, and he leaves. And I call up Michael. I said, we got it. He goes, well, I'm doing something. I'll be over in a couple hours. So I wait. I mean, it's killing me, but I wait. I've been waiting for this thing for almost, 8 months to see it. And I'm not going to open it until Michael comes. And we get it. And the first thing is we put on gloves. And we get a black light. I said, let's see if there's any biomaterial. So from a science perspective, I mean, we deal with artifacts. So I'm shining the black light on it. And right away we find something. On the front is a dribble of wax. It just glows like white. I mean, it is so obvious with the black light. But when you turn off the black light, because the wax is almost clear, you would never see it, which tells me that candlestick was used somehow, and they've let a dribble of wax hit the box. But again, you can't see it unless you have the. We also find on the side a little black N, which is north. So if you turn the box and place it so that that N faces north, the doors open up to the east, which is how religiously you always open things to the east. That's just a religious thing. So it's like, okay, more hints that this could have been a religious thing. And so we're looking at the hair, the candlestick with the octopus feet. We're looking at these rare granites with this Hebrew chart chiseled into Hebrew letters, which say shalom, which is peace, but it's more of a peace that you might attain in death, not like peace, man. It's really an attaining a level of perfection of peace. And so we're looking at all this stuff, and I'm thinking, this is kind of cool. And Michael's really excited. I'm going to use this in my show, and everybody's going to believe in it, and we'll bring a spirit. And I said, well, I'm going to put it in the back. So I pick it up, and I move it to the back where Michael's kind of cleaning up his stuff. And I think I take off my gloves, and I want to see, I know this woman touched it and had a stroke. What does it feel like? So I pull off my gloves, and I lay my hands on the top of it and close my eyes, and it feels as if the whole thing just whooshes into just a feeling of almost like it's just turned liquid. I open my eyes, and they're sitting on top of the box. I close my eyes, and the whole thing breaks away and goes into liquid. And I open my eyes, and they're on top of the box. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. And in that instant, it felt like someone just rammed a giant knife into my gut and just slowly started pulling it up towards my throat. I was so sickened with pain and nausea. I don't know. It just hit me. And I'm like, I couldn't even breathe. And I'm thinking something's wrong. I take the Dibbuk box. I close the door. Everything's in it. I spin it against the wall so it can't open. And I come out and I was like, Michael, I got to go home. And he's like, what? I said, I can hardly even talk. And he goes, are you all right? I said, I got to go home. And lock up the place. And I drive home. And I'm not feeling well at all. Of course, kids are there, homework, this and that. And I just go to bed. And right away, I start having these dreams. This woman that I don't know, and her face is just, the flesh is just falling off of it. And again, she's at me, and she's grabbing at me. And all night I wake up, it's like, whew, and it starts all over again. And I'm so happy when it's finally morning to go to work. And so I get up, and I head towards the bathroom. And as I pass my wife, she's like, what's wrong with you? I said, what do you mean what's wrong? She goes, your eyes. And I look in the mirror, and they're full of blood, as if they've been clawed. And it's like, oh my gosh. She goes, you have pink eye? I said, no, I don't have pink eyes. It doesn't hurt or anything. It's just full of blood. And she's like, well, use my, contact solution. You got to put something in your eyes. That's horrible. I said, well, eyes, the good thing about eyes is they heal very quickly. I said, well, whatever it is, it'll be a couple of days. It'll be fine. Well, it doesn't get fine. It goes on for weeks and weeks. And everybody's convinced I have the worst case of pink eye they've ever seen. And so finally I go to the optometrist. It's like, I'm going to go, and he looks at my eyes, he checks. So I said, what's wrong with my eyes? He goes, you've had a spontaneous drying of the whites. I said, what do you mean? It's just, you have no lubricant. I said, well, what causes that? He goes, well, we don't know, but that's what's happened to you. And it's like, you've never had eye issues before. Oh, no, not until this night. And the weird thing is, I've never gotten rid of them since. So here's the thing: so I go to an ophthalmologist, and I saw an optometrist. Now I'm going to go see an ophthalmologist, another eye guy. He puts the yellow liquids in, he checks all the things, goes through all these tests, does all this tests on me. And when he's done, after about 4 hours of work, he says, you've had a spontaneous drying of the whites. He says the exact same thing. I said, well, what causes that? He goes, we don't know. He goes, but I have something that can treat you. I said, well, what is it? He goes, well, it's going to sound scary, but it's not. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, it's belladonna. I said, well, I know what belladonna is, a poison. He goes, well, yeah, but it's in a liquid solution. You put it in your eyes, and it should clear the red away. I said, you're kidding me? He goes, no, try it. And you know what? That was in 2004. To this day, 15 years later, I always keep that on me, because if I don't use the drops every day, within 2 to 3 days, my whole eyes fill up with blood again. It's the weirdest thing. So as long as I use the drops, everything's fine. But it's one of those weird symptoms of this stupid box. And so now I'm freaking out. I'm choking. I'm having these weird dreams. There's flashes of light everywhere, shadowy figures. I'm constantly drowning on just my own spit. And I'm thinking, and I'm breaking out in hives. Suddenly I just break out all over in hives, and then they all go away. And I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And so I call up Michael. I said, Michael, you've got to come and get the box. And especially after this thing I just felt like something ripped through my body. And he's like, yeah, about that. It's like, yeah, I can't take the box. It's like, what do you mean you can't take the box? My wife won't have it here. I said, that wasn't the deal. You said you'd take the box. He goes, no, I can't. I'm sorry. He hangs up on me. And I'm thinking, I bought it. I made the deal. I've got the damn box. And everybody's gotten rid of it. Though things got better in their lives, they're still haunted by it. So the one thing I'm thinking is getting rid of it isn't the answer, because Kevin and Joseph, they were still somewhat scarred by just having it and getting rid of it. But something unresolved. I think I'm not going to get rid of it, but it's driving me nuts. So I do kind of a ritual that's for kind of setting the box. And you use first you smudge with sage, then you get basil and sea salt, and you create basically a spot where you put the box, and then you basically burn sage and basil over it, and supposedly then it's kind of locked in its place, and that should be good. And it did seem to work for a while, and I was feeling pretty good about it. But I go to my mother-in-law's house, and she's aware about I've got this Dibbuk Box thing, and the first thing she says is my daughter or my grandchildren in any danger? What is this Dibbuk Box? Now, here's an interesting thing. The Swedes did a research project and realizes that mother-in-laws actually do not like husbands. Because
that's true.
The research
I know twice.
The research is that you have the potential to take financial means away from the daughter and the offspring. You have no shared blood. Therefore, you are an outsider, and any infringement on any financial gain that could take away from them is something they don't want. For instance, if they leave wealth, they want to leave it to their daughter and grandchildren, not to you. Mm-hmm. And so there's this natural kind of hatred. And the Swedes do these amazing researches. They also do this research that says children should be, even in a divorce, spend 50% of their time with each parent. And unless there's abuse or something like that, it actually is the best thing for kids. And now all over the United States and probably people are getting it. So the Swedes do great research. So the bottom line is, I remember that research thinking, whoa, what about me? Is my daughter or my grandchildren in danger? And me. She didn't say it. Anyway.
Well, of course not.
It's the research. So, and I said, you know what? I don't want to, we've been talking about this thing for already an hour. I don't want to go all over this stuff with my mother-in-law. So I said, look, it's just a little wooden box, and the woman would talk to God and ask it things, and your daughter's not in danger, nor are the kids. That's it.
And on that note, I'm going to cut you off right there because we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour here. Jason Haxton is our guest tonight. What's it like to own the Dibbuk Box? How evil is it? We're going to find out, and we'll get to some questions right after this on the mighty SOR.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night. Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
We're past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning on in. Remember, a good way to support this show is by going to our Spaced Out Radio store, picking yourself up a coffee mug, a shirt, hoodie, hat, beanie, whatever you want. Great way to support what we do around here. Thank you so much for tuning on in. Tonight we are talking about the paranormal and the very, very extremely haunted Dibbuk Box. Made a lot of headlines around Halloween when Zach Bagans was questioning whether or not he would open it in that 1 hour special. The man who had it before Mr. Bagans, Jason Haxton, is our guest tonight. Jason, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Dave. I think we're having a good time tonight.
Absolutely. So right before the break, you were kind of breaking down that your mother-in-law was starting to get a little too close to the Dibbuk Box.
Right. So the bottom line is, as mother-in-laws tend to do, they're worried about their children and possible grandchildren. And I kind of hit an impasse. She wanted to know what it was, and I didn't really know what it was. All I know is that I was having these pains as if I'd been stabbed. I was choking. I was basically, my eyes were bleeding. I wasn't sleeping. And I suddenly thought I knew what the problem was. I work in a museum, so one of the things that we typically find in old medical artifacts is the use of cyanide or arsenic as a preservative, because bugs won't eat, human remains or whatever that you're using as a sample. And it suddenly occurred to me, these people before me, it wasn't a spirit. All of them had touched this thing, and there's something on the box. And I'd removed my gloves to touch it, and it had felt like it turned to water, and that's when I got this stabbing pain, and that's when my eyes started bleeding. I suddenly realized I basically had contaminated myself. This thing has to be covered with arsenic or cyanide or something. And we have kids because, we actually do a lot of tests. Some of you have heard the term the Mad Hatter. The reason the hatters, the people who made the hats, were mad is they would use pure mercury around the beaver skin for hats, these top hats, to make them shiny and make them waterproof. And that mercury would leach into their skin. It's a heavy metal, and they would go insane. And so the reason they were mad hatters was because of their jobs. And so I'm thinking, I have contaminated myself. So we have these tools, sponges, chemicals, and we can actually check our artifacts for contaminants such as heavy metals. So I go through the process. I get out the sponge. I wipe it down. I collect material. I drain it into a test tube. I run all the tests, and I'm excited to find out what is it. And there's no heavy metal. There's no cyanide. There's no mercury. There's no arsenic. What is on this box is sugar. Just sugar. Sugar has been used as a varnish for probably about 300 years because it's hard, it doesn't decay, it's easy to add more and create multiple layers. So sugar is actually one of the best varnishes. Shellac is sugar. So I can't believe it. I figured out what the problem was. I poisoned myself. And now the tests are saying, no, you didn't. So now I'm thinking, well, then what is it? And that's when I'm visiting my mother-in-law, and she says, is there something to this box that's dangerous? And I tell her, no, it's just a little prayer box. It belongs to a woman who wants to talk to God about the Holocaust. No problem. And then as I'm sitting at the counter having my sandwich with my mother-in-law, she's looking over my shoulders out the window. And the dining room tables, she prepares dinner for us. It's really great. You come home from work, you go to your mother-in-law house, she feeds you, she feeds the kids, you do the dishes, you go home. You buy her groceries, you have all the good food you want. So the table's set, and she's looking out the window, and her mouth jumps open, and she gets this funky stare, more funky than normal. And all of a sudden she goes, I remember. And I'm thinking, huh? She goes, I was very small, but I remember. I said, remember what? I was with my father in St. Louis. He worked for a Jewish man that ran a mercantile, which would be like a Walmart of that time. And every day my father, and they were Catholic, every day my Catholic father and the Jewish boss would talk, and I would be there with my daddy, and they would talk about the ship, the boat, and all those Jewish people on the boat, and they couldn't come. They couldn't come to America. And it was because of that man. That man kept them from coming here. And I'm thinking, huh? And just about that time, the chandelier over the dining table drops free, hits the table, explodes. All the knives and forks and dishes are shattered and flying over the back of my head because my back is to this table. She's staring at it. She goes for cover. And when it all stops, the entire dining room table is destroyed. The center of it's dented. And my father-in-law comes running in. What's going on in here? He grabs the chandelier and picks it up. It's completely undamaged. And everything around it's destroyed. And I'm thinking, what just happened? And so it's like, I got to go back to work. And I'm thinking, boat, Jews, man, I go back and I start Googling. And all of a sudden it comes up, the ship of the damned, the SS St. Louis. It was a luxury liner the Germans had. But when this Kristallnacht happened and all these shops were destroyed and synagogues burned, and the first time Jews were put in concentration camps, 33,000, they released them after about 3 months, but none of this had ever happened to the Jews. This is what the Germans said, you get out. And the Jews had nowhere to go. And so they get on the ship and they're going to come to the United States, but they can't come. Now, this is the tricky part. We take refugees. I mean, it's in the news all the time. What do you mean? Right. My grandma was a Czech immigrant. What do you mean they couldn't come to the United States? They couldn't come. So they're all taking the ship to Cuba to wait and petition to come to the United States because they're not accepted. Now, this is something most people are going to go, what? It's like, it's true. And the reason it's true is I find out who is this man. And the man is Harry Hamilton Laughlin, Laughlin. Looks like Laughlin, Laughlin. And all of a sudden it hits me, wait a minute. My museum has Laughlins. There was actually one of the presidents was George Laughlin. There is no way this guy could have anything to do with me and my museum and why the Dibbuk Box came. And I type in George's name to see if there is a Harry. It's his little brother. He's 8 years younger. And he is the director of the eugenics movement in Cold Spring Harbor, New York. And he has established laws that prevent the immigration of Jews, the mix of races in marriage, and the sterilization of anyone that is not perfect, starting in the 1920s. These are all American laws. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, what? And so I go back to Harry. Who is he? I mean, his brother's running a medical school, for crying out loud. But what his brother's doing, and what he's doing is breeding these Guernsey and Jersey cattle from the islands of Guernsey and Jersey of England. It's a rocky little island. And this cattle has the best cream because there's not a lot of food. So their calves have to have some nutrition. And to this day, the best cattle are the Guernsey. And they're selling for like $300,000. So this kid looks at his older brother and goes, that's making bank. I'm going to get into animal breeding. And so he's breeding pigs and horses and chickens. And he's explaining to people that you must get rid of 10% of your stock because 10% is mutant. And mutant not in a good way, like the X-Men, but mutant like it'll basically mediocre your stock. So even though you think you're saving money by having 10 chicks, you must find the one that is imperfect and destroy it because otherwise, you will never have a beautiful flock. And he's got the most amazing animals. And Charles Davenport from Cold Spring Harbor, New York, the head of the eugenic movement, looks at this young man and goes, you are brilliant. You are doing great research. Come and be my assistant. And I'll move you into the director position someday, and you will lead human genetics for the United States. And he does, and he creates these laws. but the laws are based on bogus research. And the Congress passes these laws. And Hitler's going to come into power. But you know what? When Hitler first has his revolt, he thinks he's going to have all these people come. He's in a beer hall. He's a war hero. They're all going to take back the government. 5,000 people are going to march. And in the morning, there's 200, and they're really not the best. But he thinks, what the hell? We're going to march against the German government. And basically, 8 of them get killed. And Hitler goes to jail. He's to go to jail for 8 years. And while he's in jail, he decides to write a book called Mein Kampf, My Struggle. Here's what we're about. And as he's writing that book, he goes, a rebellion with a bunch of drunk friends, bad idea. But he looks to America and he goes, in America, they're becoming a national government. And they're sterilizing, they're preventing marriages, and they're basically stopping the immigration. And it is exactly what we must do. Hitler gets the idea of this using what becomes the Nuremberg laws, American laws, but he does it in the 30s. And the thing is, he's supposed to go 8 years, but when he finishes his books, he gets pardoned in 8 months, and he's released. Had he stayed in the full 8 years, who knows what would have happened? But he's released. He writes his book, and his book focuses on American laws, and he brings Harry over. And Harry explains the sterilization and how this is going to improve the race and so here we basically find the connection of an animal husbandry, a breeder of chickens and pigs and horses, setting the standard for America and transferring that information to Hitler, who puts it on steroids and in the first year sterilizes 350,000 people. And Harry's screaming in the United States, they're beating us at our own game. We've only sterilized 70,000. We need to do what Hitler's doing. And by God, do not let that ship come to the Americas.
I'm going to be honest. I'm having a very tough time trying to figure out how this ties into the Dibbuk Box, man.
Well, the Dibbuk Box comes to answer the woman's prayer. What was the seed that started the mass killings and stuff? The seed was a guy breeding animals who goes to power in America and writes these sterilization laws. They stayed on the books through the 1960s in the United States. So this guy creates all these laws off his bogus research. And here's the thing. We figure it out in the United States when we see what Hitler does with the Nuremberg laws of the 30s, and they're verbatim. They're not like our laws. They are our laws. And the United States looks back and goes, oh my gosh, what have we done? And how do we stop this guy? So they stop funding his money, his grants to the eugenics movement. They cut it to a fourth. Well, Harry Laughlin says, I can't run my research on this. I'm 60. I'm at a retirement age. I'm going back home. I'm building my mansion. I'm taking my research. And what he does is he builds his mansion, but before he gets to move into his mansion, he becomes an epileptic. He's the very kind of person that should be sterilized. These laws are taking care of people who have vision problems, people who are orphaned, any drug abuse.
I understand. I apologize. My audience, we try and stay away from the political side of everything. And I do realize it's a big part of the story, but we only got about 6 minutes left, and I got a ton of questions that I do need to hit you up on. Let's talk about the education of this, because this box has been studied at a university level, and it came up with some very strange results.
Well, and that's the thing about it is, from a scientific perspective, you would look at the box and say, well, you've got these granite pieces, you've got this metal stuff. It's basically, there's an electromagnetic field, and that's what's causing everybody to get sick. It's not one thing. There's no poison. It's the thing itself is creating electromagnetic energy by the combination, just the magic combination of the pennies, the hair, the stones. They're all working together. What you must do is ground it. So you must create a container lined in gold, and that will basically diffuse the energy of the box. That's the scientific perspective. The rabbis are saying, no. There is something energetic about this thing. And what we need to do is we need to look to the old books. And what we did in the old times is we would get an acacia arc, a wood that is impenetrable, which is exactly what the scientists said. You need a container, a very tough container. Acacia grows very sappy, very slow. It's unburnable, it's undestroyable, it's uncuttable because it grows in the desert. And so that's why acacia was used for the temples and the Ark of the Covenant. So you build an ark, a box. You lined it in gold because gold is a pleasure to God, should have never been to humans. So now we've got what the Jewish rabbis say you should do to defuse the spirituality, but it is exactly what the scientists are saying to do based on science. And they're both saying the exact same thing. So the good secret is you only have to do one thing, but is it for science or is it for basically spirituality? And so
where did this study take place?
The person, it's in my book because a lot of the things like chapter 10, for instance, talks about how the connection would be from this animal person to laws that were bigger in the United States and then across the ocean. So again, getting back to why it's weird is the box should have never come to Kirksville, but in many ways it should have, because that is actually where the person returns and everything ends. And so if there is a spiritual Dibbuk, a Dibbuk is a spirit that cannot go into the afterlife because it's done a horrible thing. If you falsified research and you harmed many, many people, you would probably be one of those spirits that has done something so great you're not accepted into the spiritual world. So you must turn a light onto yourself. And therefore, all these pieces come together, and the light would be, is it Harry Hamilton that is the spirit that by the box getting the notoriety, which we go back and reflect on these horrible laws, which we have undone and should have never done. What we're saying is that might give him passage back to have a release and be able to go into the afterlife. And so once this was, the weird thing is, once all this was figured out, I basically did a cleansing. I took sea salt, I took basil, I smudged the bathroom, and I took a bath. And all of a sudden, that pain I had from touching the box came back. And all of a sudden, this clear, gooey material was pouring out of every orifice, head, toe, and back, out of me. I mean, it was coming. I was crapping it. I was vomiting it. It was everywhere. And once it was out of me, everything stopped, as if the resolution was there. That was the story of the box, was if there is a spirit, it might have been someone that did a horrible thing that just kept growing. And now the story, if you can go look, people can now keep reflecting. If you type in the two names, Laughlin and Hitler, not to get political, it will tell you the story of an American story. And no one knows it. But it's true. 80,000 plus websites on it now. At one time, not a single one. And so it was an unrested spirit, perhaps, that had to out itself. And the only way to out itself was to keep harassing people till they figured out what it is and coming to its home, basically, which was the best chance of coming out. So, yeah, it would almost be impossible for this story to be true. And yet, it is verifiable. And that is why the university permitted it to be a nonfiction book. Everything in it is true. All the incidents, all the people really do exist. And the storyline is a true story that almost no one knows. But now you guys do.
We got about a minute and 10 left. In regards to the study that was done, how long was that study?
It was on the History Channel, so you can actually look up, and it was done, Geiger counters were used, electromagnetic, basically readers for materials. And so the History Channel did at Truman State University. So I imagine if you did a search for History Channel and Truman State University, there's not a lot of documentaries done on that. But that was one of the documentaries that looked through the whole scientific aspect. And what they said is when it was all said and done, they couldn't say that there wasn't some kind of energy outside of what was read as natural. What they're saying is there seems to be something more to this thing because we've run all the other tests that have indicated there's something going on. outside of the normal materials. And so that was on a History Channel. That was a pure scientific test. And it was done probably about 6 years ago. And so here's the final line. The Dibbuk Box, now that it's at rest, once this was resolved, there's no fear of it, but it is a wish box. So if you go to the Dibbuk Box and you make a wish, as the old woman did with all the contents, it may answer your wish. It may give you your wish, because she died before she ever found out. And the family said, oh, by the way, we realized that Grandma's creepy box, it was going to keep going after her death until it got the answer. And her answer was, what was the seed that grew into something so horrible? And so I gotta
cut you off right there, my friend. I gotta cut you off right there. We'll be back with the final hour of Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR, where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com, where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com, and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Story Box, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Story Box. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. This weekend, Tessa Nicole Thomas is back at headquarters here with the Spaced Out Weekend on Saturday and Sunday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, in Reedsport, Oregon, KDUN AM 1030, and on UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tractor. Tractor is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as a clam sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. While you're listening in, you can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, to rock out to some Bumblefoot. Support this show by going to our store, picking up a T-shirt, hat, hoodie, socks, whatever you want. We got it there for you. And, of course, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and much more. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Jason Haxton. He is the former owner of the Dibbuk Box. Later turned it over to Zach Bagans, and we're going to ask Jason about that right now. Jason, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Dave. It's been a fun night. Thanks for having me.
Been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for the history lesson on this box here tonight. And considering we only have you for about another, 20 or so minutes, I do have to ask, how did Zach Bagans get involved with this?
Well, of course, because of his Ghost Adventures show and Travel Channel stuff and things like that, he wanted to bring all the most notoriety or famous haunted items to a show, and Deadly Possessions, he called it. And it had, there's and again, I'm not really good on paranormal, but there's some creepy Betty the doll, and there's some little sailor doll from Key West, and there's different pieces that he all wanted to bring in. And one of the items he wanted to have on this Deadly Possession was the Dibbuk Box, which is identified as one of the, if not the most haunted item, in the world, not just in the United States. And so I said, the weird thing was, I hadn't brought this thing. It had not been, since it landed in my possession at the museum, when I had gotten it from the college kid who gotten it from the original owner. It hadn't been out of the United States, or out of the United States, Greentop, Missouri, for over 13 years. And he was like, well, would you bring it for the show so we could tape it here at my haunted museum, which he was still developing. He hadn't opened yet. I said, yeah, bring it there. And so weird thing, we brought it, and sure enough, all kinds of strange things happened there, as I anticipated. And we did our interview, and when it was over, it's like, what would it take to have this here? It's like, well, I'm just not sure, Zach. I said, thanks, but no thanks. I'm taking it back, and you should be lucky you even got to see it in your haunted museum. Now, one thing, as a museum director, his stuff is legit. His voodoo things, his Ouija boards are the most ancient. He's got the real deal all throughout. And I guess he's been collecting since he was a kid, and he collected nothing but the high-end best stuff, or people have given it to him. But when I went through that museum, I was impressed with the quality of the kinds of things he had and the amount of things he had. An incredible collection. But I left, and he continued to call, to text, to follow up me. Would you let me have the? Would you give me the access to the Dibbuk? Would you loan me the Dibbuk Box? I would build the entire museum around the Dibbuk Box. And he's got a lot of stuff. Finally, he said, I would put 2 full rooms, the movie story, the real story. People will have access. And that was the final thing, is every day, even today, Dave, I get calls, can I see the Dibbuk Box? Tell me about the Dibbuk Box. I need help. It's like, I am so sorry. This isn't my 24-hour-a-day job. And my thought was, after about a year and a half of harassment by Zach, and I can see why he wanted it, it occurred to me, people should have a chance to get a hold of it, get to see it, to have their presence around it. So I was convinced that he was legit in his museum. Now, again, his show's his show, whatever, but he is a legitimate collector of presenting the real stuff. And I thought, if there ever was a home for access, that is it. And if you go and look at the website and what people say and they experience, and there's hundreds every day getting to have access to this artifact. And I think it's great. But also, the story of this thing just grows bigger and bigger, too. But it is now where anybody can see it, they can find its history, and they can make a judgment for themselves. Is it anything? Is it nothing? Is it the biggest spiritual experience of their life? And it runs the gamut.
In regards to him having it, he blew it up in a beautiful, beautiful way for promotion, that he was going to open it in a 1-hour special on Halloween night, and he did not open it. Did you basically forewarn him that it might be dangerous to do that?
It's tricky because the anniversary of the Dibbuk Box as a gift when it first went bad was near Halloween. Kevin's mother's birthday is a few days before Halloween, and that's when the veil, if you believe things are thin or, things are changing, less vibration. If there's a spiritual opportunity, it's greater at that time. And that's, again, the creator of the Dibbuk Box thought something happened in October that caused all this horror. So the bottom line is it's a dangerous time to be messing around. Now, when we had gone, we actually had a rabbi talk about the Dibbuk Box and be around it, and he felt there really could be a connection to it. And so when this other rabbi was brought in, the original one backed out. And so they got somebody kind of quickly. And as we mentioned earlier, rabbis do what the rabbis want to do. I mean, they're not looking to please you. They're looking to do their best work for you and everyone else. And this rabbi that they brought in suddenly didn't want to have anything to do with it. Most rabbis are pretty okay with the Dibbuk Box. They all agree that it is Jewish and it's an enigma, and you shouldn't be messing with these things, but they don't doubt it is what it is. Now, they don't create Dibbuk Boxes. That's the thing, is it's the only one. You see thousands of them. No, this little woman created her own way to talk to God through this box, and it is the only one. When I mentioned there was a dribble of wax that we discovered on it, suddenly now all these Dibbuk Boxes are coated like in so much wax. They misunderstood what the point was. I was just saying the dribble meant it was used. It wasn't to seal anything in. And so there are no other Dibbuk Boxes. It is the one created by this little old lady with her own vision of communicating and trying to find out something. But it's the only one. And so this rabbi at the last minute wouldn't follow through for whatever reason, and that's his choice. And so who knows what will happen next with it, to be honest.
Very interesting indeed in regards to why was the box never just destroyed? Why didn't it get buried where this lady was or is now buried?
Well, again, she wanted it buried with herself, but herself being Jewish, the rabbi wouldn't bury it with her because that would be an act that you would do for an Egyptian. Those were the basically the masters of the Jews. And the last thing they want to do is perpetuate the group that basically was victimizing them. So the bottom line is that wasn't going to be buried with her. So the family had nothing else to do but get rid of it. I mean, she created this thing, and the good thing was, had it been buried with her, there would be no story, there would be no Dibbuk Box, there would be no history. But because it wasn't buried, it wanders around to tell its stories, to do more of what it does. And so that's the thing. The rabbi wouldn't bury it with her. And she thought it would be buried with her. Had she known that, she might have destroyed it. But here's the thing. Once you have the Dibbuk Box and things start going around, the fear is if I destroy it, whatever it is, am I stuck with it till I die? And nobody wants that. If I can just move it and whatever's with it away, that's the best way. So this is why no owner would dare destroy it. Even Zach, if he thinks it's real, would be hard-pressed to destroy it because maybe then it is tied to him.
Well, I mean, that's interesting indeed because I think the irony of it all was the lady who owned it previous, who built it.
Correct.
She was using it to talk to God, or so she says. To make wishes,
or in some way, yes, to communicate her anxiety.
And yet here we have all of this evil that now surrounds it, which is so anti-God.
Well, and
there's quite the irony around it.
Well, and that's the thing about evil. It's kind of like you make a wish, and you might not, as we say, you might not want what you wish for. You might get your wish, but it might not be in the form you wanted it. I guess I only saw it because everybody who owned the box, and it antagonized them to uncover its mystery. As soon as they got rid of it, the woman that had the stroke, Kevin's mother, she came back to completely normal, speaking, walking, using. So what I'm saying is everybody that was victimized by it, which was maybe a way of prodding you to discover its secret, got better after it was gone. Joseph, his hair came back. He ended up getting back on the academic bandwagon. He got a good job. He moved on with it, but he will have nothing to do with it, nor will most of the other people. Everybody who was affected by it, they're glad they're back to normal, and they don't want to dabble with it ever again. So, in that case, I don't think it's as evil as, I guess nobody would want to share their body with a spirit. There's only room for one. And a Dibbuk, by its nature, is coming back to undo things and therefore sharing, kind of like being a little schizophrenic, only until it resolves its issue and then it goes away. The good thing, it's not forever. It only wants to be around you and in you and bothering you until it gets its purpose done, and then it's done and goes away and you're back to you. So I guess I don't see it as evil, as good or bad, just a lot of what seemed like bad things until you put them under the perspective of being prodded. It's kind of like, is a rattlesnake bad, or is it just poisonous because it's defending itself? And so, but some people would see rattlesnakes as being bad. It's like, well, no, they're just, granted, I don't want to be bit by one, but I wouldn't necessarily see them as good or bad. They just are.
A lot of critics have come out saying this box is fake. It's just a bunch of legends and story hype that are around it, and really there is nothing to it, that nothing happens. Would you say it's because of those critics, they haven't had that one-on-one attention with it, and they're quite quick to judgment?
Yeah, but I also would say that it's part of maybe their perspective. I mean, again, as I say, as I'm further away from it, it's easier just to even say, did any of this ever happen? When you're involved with an artifact, or whether it be a house that's haunted, or something that's a location, a site, when you're involved with it and you're with its energy and your energy is mixing with it, I mean, we are spiritual beings. I guess I should say that having had this journey, I certainly find myself more spiritual and believing in the spiritual, not in a bad way, just that there's more. I don't know what that more is, but I certainly don't doubt there's more. And so having all that around you and being so focused on it, I do think that you may sense things that you won't sense. That's what I'm saying. Once it's out of my life, it's not my worry. It's not my thing. In that sense, I don't think about it or worry about it. But so if they had that more heightened experience with something, they might be affected differently. For instance, in my book, I show you something. There's these paintings that you can look at them and they're just a bunch of smears of colors and dots, and some of them are actually even like 1,000 ducks. But if you look and look and look, they actually can become a 3D image with actually depth. Have you ever seen these 3D illusion image that they look perfectly 2D and flat? And if you stare and unfocus your eyes, suddenly they are more. There is a level behind them that actually is three-dimensional. And so I put that in the book because, again, if you're not looking or trying or seeing it, no, you would never see it, even if it's sitting there in front of you. And so I use that analogy, these paintings and their optical illusions, that you look at them. It's just a bunch of paint, and it's very flat, and it's very boring. And then suddenly you see through them, and it actually has a depth of about 6 inches, and there's spaces, and there's actually shapes and things. I don't know how to explain it, but they're real. And you guys can go look them up. Just look up, 2D shape images that become 3D. You can go online and stare at them, and you'll create them now. They used to be a big thing in the 80s, and I'm sure they're still on the internet. You can see these things. And it really makes you question how you look at things, because if you don't try to look, you'll never see it. you'll just keep saying there's nothing there. And then you stare and your body adapts and you actually become involved with it. And there is more there. It is a strange, you're actually having a different experience with it. So,
In regards to the box sitting at Zach Bagan's Haunted Museum in Las Vegas right now, if anybody wants to travel to Vegas and go see it, would you take it back? If he said, Jason, I don't want it anymore, it's freaking me out, bad things are happening, would you take it back?
I guess I wouldn't be afraid to take it back, but I would do the exact same thing. I would respect it. I would put it back in its gold-lined acacia ark, which, again, the money for that was provided by the film and Hollywood. They didn't want to ever see the real thing when they created the movie, and they had all kinds of weird experiences as they created this movie. And so I would basically put it back in the most respectable way and basically put it back in the ground, and nobody would see it, and I wouldn't think about it, and there it would be.
Would you like more university study done on it, though? Yes, a study has already been done. You've written about that in your book. But to try and blend the paranormal and the science community together, would this box not be one of the best conduits to try and prove the existence of paranormal activity to a lot of scientists who believe we're just fringe?
Yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting concept because one of the things that I think has to do a lot with the spiritual world is, it's quantum, it's just vibration. It's movement, and it's very fast movement. One of the things that traps us in this physical world is the speed of light. We can't get faster than the speed of light, or if we did, as Einstein would say, time and mass would all change, but we can't. However, to some degree, we actually can. In your neurons are actually, if you look up Stuart Hameroff, and he's an interesting person that really combines spirit and science. He says that, he's an anesthesiologist. He puts people under. And the only time that we lose connection to our bodies and time is when your microtubules, the neurons stop vibrating, and they're vibrating trillions of times. It's kind of like your phone and the internet comes into it. You can't see it. You can't grab it, you can't taste it, but your phone, which is acting as a body, is receiving an energy, a wave. And can we as physical people through the brain be receiving something outside of this world at a high vibration, which would be quantum physics? It's a very scientific thing, but it starts to meld the physical with the unphysical. And therefore, all kinds of things might happen based on vibration, because though we can't move faster than the speed of light, it actually, within those vibrations of your microtubules in your neurons, it's moving trillions of times a second. So instead of moving, vibrating is a way of escaping. Instead of trying to get from here to there and get past light, stay still and vibrate out of it. So there's a lot that actually mixes science and I think spirituality more than it ever has in this generation. And it's not so weird.
I know you probably won't give the answer to this, but would you say what Zach paid for it?
Oh, he didn't pay that much. He's made more off of it, which is fine if that's what he wanted to do. But I'm not afraid to say what he paid for it. He received the entire collection of almost 30 study wine boxes that were copies, but not the right one, multiple pieces that fit in the Dibbuk box, 9 linear feet of 9 years of research done on the box. He literally received everything. He received the Hollywood signed posters, because he does a Hollywood thing, probably about $5,000 to $6,000 worth of memorabilia that I received from the movie by people who just wanted me to have it, as well as my science research of things, which probably added to about, easily over 9 years, 9,000. So about $15,000 worth of real legitimate stuff that could be sold. And that's what he paid for it. I just charged him what the stuff cost and nothing more. I would say on an average day with $50 a head and 100 people going through, how much does he make off it? It wasn't about making money off of it, at least not from my perspective. It was a fair deal for what I was giving him. And I gave him everything. I gave him historic newspapers. I mean, things that related to the actual study of all books in the languages that are used on the stones and stuff, the Hebrew language and those kinds of things. The entire library of everything related to it. So I think it was, 15,000 wasn't crazy. It's not a secret, I don't think. And that's what, we filled an entire U-Haul, not a little one, what would be like a 12-foot U-Haul truck with artifacts, materials, and things collected over about an 11-year period in my research and study.
We got about 90 seconds here, my friend.
Sure.
And one quick question here. Do you regret not burying it yourself?
When I had it, I kept it buried. I actually exhumed it in order for Zach to have it. It had stayed buried for almost 9 years.
Where do you put that? In like your backyard or something like that?
Well, and that was the secret, because I live in a brick 3-story historic home. There was actually a crawl space under the home. So because people thought, I also own 26 acres of land, and people thought, kind of like anything else, well, I'll just go out on your land and I'll find where you buried it. It was never buried. It was buried underneath my house. So in order to have access to it, you would have to break into my house. So what I'm saying is it was perfect. That's why I always knew it was safe, that you would have to literally get into and under my house, which required a lock, and then you'd have to still find it, and then you'd have to get it out, which was made very difficult because of the way that it was moved through in layers. Right. So it was taken apart and put back together so that it couldn't just come out.
Jason, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show tonight to break down the Dibbuk Box for us. What a storyteller you are, and very, very awesome to listen to you tonight. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio.
Well, thanks, Dave. And all of this can be read in the book, and all the proceeds go to the university. So it's not a moneymaker. Never was a moneymaker.
Perfect. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire to finish off the week and the thought of the day. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
We've rounded third. We are heading for home tonight and into the weekend for a little R&R. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us this week. It's been an absolute blast. Another week that has flown on by, and having you all along with us has been a lot of fun. So what do you say? Why don't we get to it? The final news of the week right now. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show to bring you the weird, the wacky, the WTF that may not make the mainstream, but sure sounds darn good with us. We're going to start off with a little, I don't even know how to describe this story without swearing, but I'm not going to swear. So this starts off in Vancouver. A commercial fisherman, fed up that the sea lions were trying to get all of his catch, decided to throw a bear banger bomb into the ocean to kill some of them. And of course, being the stupid criminal that he is, Alan Marsden decided to videotape it all. Yeah, the police didn't like that. Neither did Fisheries and Oceans. Like literally, there was like hundreds of sea lions surrounding his nets. I could see where he got a little bit frustrated trying to scare him off away from his catch because he does have a living to make. But yes, he was adamant, Mr. Marsden. This was not a case of going out there and trying to kill all the sea lions, but he does want to cull on the creatures. Says there's too many of them. Can't get the fishing done. Especially with the salmon stocks. Now, there is a group out there that is trying to get rid of some of the sea lions, get them harvested, so that way the salmon stocks have a better chance of surviving. But nonetheless, this is one of those situations you really do not take into your own hands. See, Mr. Marsden, though, he's, well, let's just say, he's got some revenge because 3 years ago, allegedly, he was attacked by a sea lion while working on his boat. But flash bombs don't work. They just don't work. He might want to rethink that one next because they're pretty upset. They are pretty upset. He's now potentially facing charges on this one. Still don't know how I feel about that. It's not the animal's fault. They're just trying to get a free meal. Who knows? Maybe it's just me. Let's move on. So I'm a big fan of the Chive. If you don't know what the Chive is, it's a pretty good website. There's lots of fun stuff on it. And I got this story out of Perth, Australia. So this guy decides that he wants to bring a beer on his Qantas flight. His Emu Export Lager was coming with him no matter what. But they said, no, sir, you cannot bring that beer onto the plane. So he did the unusual thing and he decided to check his beer in. And lo and behold, on the luggage rack, that goes where they put the luggage and it goes spinning around. Well, there's his beer. Like, what do you have to do? Honestly, you know you can't bring drinks onto flights because they want you to buy the drinks while you're on the flight. It's how they make extra money. But to check in your beer, and you got to see this can, it actually has the check-in tags stickered all around it. It's actually quite brilliant. It's actually quite brilliant. The beer was sent off. It was loaded onto the plane with the rest of the baggage. Apparently the staff, grounds crew, had a good laugh over that, and they happily took care of the beer, putting it safe and sound so it wouldn't get into any sort of trouble while on the aircraft. But who checks in a beer? I mean, honestly, good on the guy for doing it. Good on the guy for using some imagination. But who really does that? No idea. Fun story, though. Go to the Chive to see the pictures. All right. I don't know who the criminal is in this case. I really don't. It's either the dude with a really, really bad beard and mustache. I can't even give credit for this beard. You know, I can't even clap for him. I like a good beard and mustache. But this thing's horrific. Absolutely horrific. But I'm not sure I blame Clayton Lucas, for doing what he did. So, earlier this week, around 9 a.m., Clayton Lewis decided to call a cab. And the cab driver started singing Christmas songs. Clayton decided to tell the cab driver to please stop. Cab driver wouldn't listen. Started singing more and more and more, to the point where Clayton snapped and started strangling the cab driver. It just set him off. No Christmas music in March. That ends on December 26th, people. I have a ban of that at my house. Caught my son last year in the middle of summer wanting to sing Jingle Bells. Said, son, you can't do that. It's not Christmas time. But this cabbie wouldn't stop. So old Clayton there decides that he's going to choke the guy. Now, I don't agree with solving things with violence unless it's on the ice in a game of hockey. But there is no need in March to be singing Christmas songs. Either way, Clayton is now facing multiple charges and is sitting in an Allegheny County jail. Like I said, I don't know if I blame Clayton on this one. What do you think? Hit me up on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio or hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Hit us up on the SOR Newswire Facebook page. I want to hear and read your results, what your thoughts are on that. Interesting. Just interesting. Almost killed the guy because of Christmas songs in March. Remember a few months ago, Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan's podcast and they decided to spark a doobie? Remember that? And there was all the hub about him doing that. Like, oh my gosh, what's Elon doing? Why did he smoke that joint? Well, one of the groups that took this very, very seriously was the U.S. Department of Defense. And they'd been reviewing this in this podcast 6 months ago till now, because they are now wondering whether or not Elon deserves security clearance because of the doobie incident. Now, of course, Joe Rogan is a big pothead. Nothing wrong with that. I am not, but I don't put down anybody who is. And he is a very, very big proponent of legalization of marijuana. But the military doesn't like that. They thought Musk kind of overstepped his boundaries when he was sharing a whiskey and enjoying the hippie lettuce back on September 6th. A Pentagon official told the media that the Air Force referred to Musk's case as bad behavior. They were going to see whether the billionaire's behavior comports with the type of person who has access to classified information. Because, yes, marijuana makes you want to spill top secret and classified information. Now, they don't really like that type of stuff. They don't want to take any chances. Musk was previously granted secret-level security clearance because of his role as the CEO of SpaceX. And in order to get that type security-level clearance, the status requires federal employees and contractors seeking clearance to acknowledge any illegal drug use over the past 7 years. Well, apparently they did not like this. So now they are debating whether or not Elon could be trusted. Even though he said on the podcast, I don't smoke pot. But he's the kind of guy, why not? So yes, the military is upset. The military is very, very upset. Bad, Elon. Bad. And it's Friday night, which means we got to end the news on the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine, with a good old-fashioned Florida story. Florida woman is now up on attempted murder charges. But you'll never guess why. Lori Moran got so frustrated with her common-law boyfriend, actually we'll just call him a boyfriend, and his snoring, that she decided to take justice into her own hands. She's charged with attempted murder and aggravated battery after shooting her boyfriend. She got sick of the snoring. Neighbor Samantha says, I talked to her a couple of times and she always seemed really nice. And so the news is kind of shocking on it. Honestly, to hear that it was over him snoring is kind of shocking. It's kind of crazy. Another neighbor, Robert, says, it's so stupid, so bizarre that I can't even imagine that kind of behavior. She's being held without bond at Brevard County Jail. I want to know what the decibels were on those snoring. Could she just not have invested in earplugs? You can get them anywhere. They're pretty cheap. Cheaper than going to jail and having your life ruined. This happened in Cocoa, Florida, though. Lori, what were you doing? Earplugs would have done it. How about moving to another room? Into the basement if you have a basement. Or telling him to go home if you're not common law. Yes. Imagine being that dude. He is in stable condition in the hospital. We do got to talk about him. He is in stable condition in the hospital. He's doing good. He's expected to survive. I don't think they will be going out on any more dates for a while, if ever. But the key to this, maybe what he needs to do with whoever he shacks up with next is say, I have something for you, my dear. Get down on one knee. Open up the little packet of foamy earplugs. Will you wear these forever? Lady will be like, What the hell is this about? And then the night comes and the snoring starts. And she doesn't hear it because her ears are protected. You can find the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com by clicking on the news tab. Captain Shirk, our news director, has you all up to date on what we do on a nightly basis. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air. Why? Because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as followed. Are there any haunted objects you would not mess with or would caution people about? Got a good list tonight. Debbie says, I don't believe any object is having a spirit in it. I do know they can manipulate, not be stuck in something immobile. That never made sense to me, and no one ever proved me wrong. She's a skeptic, that Debbie Warren. Former guest. Catherine, I would play with them all. The spirit world is not threatening to me in any way. Sure, I might be a chicken in the dark, but when it comes down to objects affecting me, bah, humbug. Gail, I believe any object that's been confirmed doing anything at all besides taking up space should be chopped up and burned in a big bonfire. Point being, have any of these haunted objects ever done a positive, loving thing? I think not. Dispose of them ASAP. And by the way, somebody bring me some Rob Zombie music, because I have a crush on Rob Zombie. Chris, I would not mess with any of the items in Ed Warren's collection. Why? Because the items were put there for a reason and don't need to be stirred up. Becky jumps in. Many say Billy the Idol. All I'm thinking is White Wedding now. Billy the Idol, who resides with Greg and Dana, gives them nightmares after holding him. I, however, stopped having nightmares after a decade of nothing after investigating the Anderson Hotel with them. Many of their objects harbor something not of this realm, especially the croon. Believe it or not, I've actually seen Billy the Idol when I met Greg and Dana a couple years ago over in Provincetown, Paracon. Zuger, who will be on Wednesday night, prove to me haunted items exist, and then ask me again. Robert says, I'm staying out of anywhere near the Warrens Museum. Ada, or make that Andrew. Maddie, the haunted doll. Annabelle, she isn't behind the glass case for nothing. In case of emergency, break glass. The Dioblux. Sorry, I want to live another day. The haunted hearse at the Birdcage Theater. Never take a break from the Corpsewood Manor. Bad stuff will happen to you until you take it back. Then there's Robert the Doll. I don't know much about it. Finally, at last, burying stuff at garage sale or buying stuff at garage sales, not knowing the possibly haunted items. And last, don't accept gifts from mother-in-laws. Things are pretty haunted anyways. Good advice, Andrew. Kelly, Rich Giordano's Ouija board. We all have heard that story, so yeah, let's just not go there. Human Carl, I do not believe that any inorganic object can be inhabited by anything from any realm, dimension, plane, etc. It is one's belief, thoughts, or intentions that manifest occurrences, either internal or external. Candace, any haunted item should be dealt with carefully, with empathy or not at all. These are lost or angry spirits, or worse, demons and devils. We are too often ill-equipped or unlearned, and as living bodies blessed with this short time with our senses meant to be. Let's see if we could sneak in another one here. Marty, playing with Ouija boards are like playing with fire. You better know how to handle the flames before you light the match. Listen to that analogy. That was fantastic. We'll get to Susan. I don't think I would play with a Ouija board after what I've heard about them. The pen man gets the final say. Fusiliers of the Black Watch. once owned by a Scottish garrison cap, like the one pictured, only not as fancy. My guess was that it was made in the 1890s or turn of the century. The badge on it was from the Fusiliers of the Black Watch. It had a ghost that would sometimes walk around the outside of my bedroom door when I was the only one home, and I could see its shadow under the gap at the bottom of the door. Ugh. Thanks, Pen Man. Big thanks to Jason Haxton for coming in to talk about the Dibbuk Box all night long. Remember, you can catch the YouTube replay at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. This weekend, Tessa Nicole Thomas is back with Spaced Out Weekend, only at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thank you to all of you listening in at work, at home, in your cars this week. Everyone in our chat rooms and on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, wherever you may be. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures. Thanks for telling your friends and being here all week long, hanging out with me, because together, my friends,
make a mistake, we're watching.
We own the night. I will talk to you on Monday night. Terry Anderson will be our guest. You guys have a good weekend. Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.